the meeting of the Parks and Rec Advisory Board, December the 2nd, 2021, will please come to order. The first item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Do we have any comments or changes on that? Do I have a motion that it's approved? Second. All in favor?
I'm sorry, who was the first? Candace? Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There being no opposed, the agenda is approved. The next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from our last meeting. There's a copy of them in the package before you. And are there any changes or comments on minutes? No? Do I hear a motion for approval?
I'll make a motion with approval.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None. So the minutes are approved as written. And I think we got another member coming here. Yep,
Oh, there's Olivia.
there's Olivia. So we'll wait a minute while Olivia joins us. Especially since she's carrying cupcakes.
That's great, thank you.
Hi. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the new tasker that we got from the Board of Commissioners, and it relates to what we're gonna do for the structure at 796 Ocean Boulevard West. And I think I believe there's a copy of that tasker in here as well.
Yes, that, I gave you guys this today. It was from the Board of Commissioners packet and exactly what they're asking you to do so that you, if you get that from the Commissioners packet already, that you'd have your own copy.
Gotcha, thank you. So you have a copy of that in front of me. What I'd really like to do on this is, by the end of the discussion, I'd like to have some kind of action plan so that we know where we're going, because we're going to be really short on time, because we're only allowed to, meet once a month, and holidays and stuff coming up. We're going to have this done by the February board meeting. So,
Hey, John, can I show you guys some pictures to begin with? It kind of helps. Can I show you mine if I do you quick? Okay. So,
please.
796 is currently being rented, but before it was rented, I took some pictures inside to kind of, because in case we need to do this at some point in time. So this is actually when you walk into the back door, it's the stairwell that leads up the middle there, but it's in the front room. This is the kitchen that's on the front that faces OVW on the bottom floor that you walk into. This has got stuff in here when we download pictures. I did this for you because this is a sample of a house that was turned into a park shelter in Jacksonville. So I know we're benchmarking other places, that's why that's in there. This is the nature center at Oak Island. And so these kind of came up in random order, but we'll keep going through the tabs. Just so you can kind of see benchmarks from other places. That is their deck that faces the waterway. It's up on pylons just like 796 is. And they have an education center inside there. It's like one big open classroom. It's closed now to the public for this evening. This is another picture of the kitchen at 796. Oh, that's the same file. Hang on one second. And that's Jacksonville. same thing. I may have to copy it back down here. It looks like it downloaded the same thing like 3 times, but I'll get her to come back down and pull the file back up. And so basically, I need to get you some more pictures, but you guys can talk while I get her back down here. Because it looked like it just downloaded the same file 3 times, and there's about 20 pictures there, so.
Okay. So as I was saying, I think before we get out of here, we need to have some idea of how we're going to deliver to the board what we've been tasked to do, and who's gonna do what, and how we're gonna at least divide it up into chunks so that we can have a chance to put something suitable together. So my interpretation of the board info is that the focus of this meeting is to come up with the ideas and the assignments to deliver to that charge the board gave us. But the charge essentially said, look at 796 as a community recreational resource, thinking in terms of something like a bathhouse with showers, classroom space, meeting space with a kitchen, parking improvements, and ADA compliant improvements. And stop me at any time here, guys, but I think I'd like to know what we already have in place. Since the town bought this, I assume there was some sort of plan that, or thoughts that they had in mind, other than what I just went through.
Well, yeah, I can tell you the reason for the purchase was for sound attenuation, because you're good. If you want to just pull up my email again, all of those are the same file, the same 5 pictures. Yeah. But it was for sound attenuation for the sewer lift station. So
Right.
It was cheaper at the time to buy the house and leave the house than to do anything inside the sewer lift station for sound, which was going to be more expensive. So about, I don't know the exact date, but I'm going to say a year and a half ago, this came up one time in the board meeting. It never made it to you guys, but it was, if it was going to come to you guys before the Parks and Rec master plan was ever done, about, thank you. About, sending it, and then it was the chicken and the egg thing about who would go first. Like, should Tim tell you guys what could happen as far as renovations first, or should it come to you first? And it just got stalled. And so what Tim and I have talked about is that he will come in after you've had an initial discussion and kind of digested some of this stuff and had a month to think about it at the January meeting to talk more specifics. But currently, so these are some more pictures. If you look, this is out of the upstairs, one of the bedrooms that faces the marsh. That's that stairwell. This is the other side, the bedroom that would be upstairs and face OVW. Got the kitchen already. That's one of the downstairs bathrooms that's in place, right off of a bedroom that's downstairs, which is this one. That faces OVW and is right off the kitchen. So basically right now there is a kitchen that is in full working order that connects to that open room and that you walk into, and there's, I think, 2 bedrooms downstairs and 2 bedrooms upstairs.
And baths, too.
Beds are in there too.
Bath.
There are, this door that's, yes, this door that's leading off the kitchen is a half bath. This bath is off the left side of the kitchen on So if you were standing in the middle of the house looking at OBW, it would be on the bottom floor to the left off of the bedroom. And there's a bath that I don't think I took a picture of, that's at the very top of the staircase between the two upstairs bathrooms.
So it's two full beds and one half bath plumbing. I mean,
Is that right, 2.5 baths?
2.5 baths.
Okay, so for clarification, so the town itself never had any concrete plans in mind for this house when they bought it? I mean, they had not really thought about it, didn't investigate it?
Other than
To
sound
my
abatement.
knowledge, other than it was sound attenuation, now, I understand that, there may have been some discussion in executive session, but that wouldn't have been something that was public, and I wasn't involved in those discussions, so, basically, you guys are starting from what should be the recommendation, is how I get it.
Do we have, somewhere, do we have a floor plan? Do we have square footage? Do we know what the town paid for it?
I can find out what the town paid for it, because that would be public knowledge. I don't know off the top of my head. Tim and Rhonda were searching the file for anything that we have that can help you guys at the next meeting.
Okay.
But since it is an older house, I think what was in, anything they had was limited, if anything, but, he can supply what they have at the next meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
And somebody asked me, did you still have that sheet of paper, or did you hand it back to me? Somebody asked me, based on our field trip today
Oh, here, I have it right here.
to Ocean Isle, this picture here in the top, I ran this off when we got back based on the inquiry. It was a house that they redid, and it looks like heated square feet is 1,011. So I'll let her pass that.
Well, according,
Well, the outside is, the inside is very small. It just has 2 bathrooms, two,
There's not 1,000 square
Offices.
feet there.
and then, I mean, it may be, but, and then the heated,
Another.
then that big, that deck is unheated, so that wouldn't be any
Yeah.
square footage, yeah.
Maybe it was 1,000 square foot of a heated house originally.
When they bought it, yeah,
Before they tore the
right,
back wall out.
yeah, 'cause you're right, that's probably not 1,000 square feet in there.
John, according to Zillow, it says it was sold for $342,500
This
on 9/18/19.
340,
$342,500.
But the one thing that we did bring up for anybody that missed the meeting is if this is important for you guys to know, if the rec department, if you guys decide and make your recommendation and it does become something that falls under the rec department as a community amenity, then the B part fund is gonna have to pay the sewer fund back for the price that the town bought it, because you can't have 2 different funds, one have bought it and one operating it. So the B part fund will have to pay the sewer fund back.
and so that's another question for Tim, is what's the actual structure worth in there, so we know how much money you can spend on improving it. Because the 342 is a lot in all, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's a lot that's just not known, like, how much available, parking would be. I mean, you're not gonna do much there if there's no parking that people can get to, unless you just make it some restrooms and a shower that people that come off the beach can walk to. But, to make it a, classroom or exhibit space or a meeting space, you're gonna have to have a little more parking. I just don't know that area well enough.
There is substantial parking about 100 feet away
Okay.
on the other side of the sewer. But,
Okay, so there's.
yeah, there's quite a few
And
parking.
they're marked off and everything.
Mhm. Yeah,
Okay.
they're close.
Okay, so you could do, definitely welcome. Okay,
The other thing I was thinking is if the bicycle path thing, gets done, then you would have a lot of bicycle traffic by there and people using it, so maybe some of the current parking space in front of the building becomes full of bicycle racks, or something like that.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put that here.
Yeah, I'm anxious to hear Tim's comments, but from the outside looking at it, when you drive by, it doesn't look like there's really been any obvious maintenance performed on it for a long time. I would, you know, we all know how stuff deteriorates at the beach, but the inside pictures look better than I was expecting.
But, you know, it's not built on an open concept, so you'd have to
It's just-
probably go
But,
in.
yeah.
Find out
You'd
what,
have to
walls
go and
down.
knock walls down.
well,
Because
find
underneath
out-
it, excuse me.
Just find out what walls you can knock down.
Yeah, yeah. Underneath it, where it's enclosed, is that just wide open under there?
It is. And
And the property behind it, how deep does it go?
that is a question I'd have to let you know. I believe that the lot, one of the lots behind it before the marsh, the town does not own directly behind it, so that's a lot outside there.
That is landlocked, you can't get to?
But Susanna Tucker said her comments to be entered into the minutes about 796 that she couldn't be here is, she'd start by saying that I directed her that Ocean Isle had some pictures online, so wow, if the pictures of OIB website is a true depiction of their Parks and Rec facility, they are lovely, she's super impressed. She thinks it might be a good field trip for the commissioners as well, or see what neighboring beaches have available. To address 796, she'd like to see the building torn down, build a community center with restrooms that are available to the public, and upgrade the parking to facilitate patrons. Not sure about the closest beach access to this facility, but it could be more of a destination facility. If a community center is not feasible, add a tennis court, restrooms, and improve parking.
I don't doubt we need something on that end of the beach that's available for the public. You know, whether it's restrooms, outdoor shower. I just don't know if this house is worth putting money into. I'm kind of like Susanna, but I don't know enough about it to.
I agree, and I think that's what we gotta find out. I think there's what, 3 scenarios of what to do with that property that I see. One is that it's not gonna be cost effective to do anything we might wanna do. Hopefully that's not the case. The second one is that the space is good, but the house isn't. So you're looking at tear down and rebuild something. And then the third would be, I guess the most ideal situation is we find out the house is structurally sound and you can spend some money on making it ADA compliant and making it look what you want, like what you want it to, like the Ocean Isle thing did. But those are the only 3 things I can see. But like you said, we gotta find out if the house is worth that. I think there was significant discussion, or significant, that there were statements on the board during the board meetings before that I recall, that some of the board was saying offhand, you know, it's not worth fooling with, tear it down. So I think we gotta check out that sentiment too, because we don't wanna put in a lot of work if they've already decided it's not, you know, gonna fly. But anyway, our charge is to come up with some ideas, and I think unless somebody sees different scenarios that I just talked about, let's lump them into those categories and see what we think we can do with either a lot in that location, an existing house in that location, or new construction in that location. And see what we pop up with and throw it around and then see what Tim has to say next time. I think the pros on the thing are obvious, like you just mentioned. It's centrally located. I think it's a great spot. You got the wetlands behind it. I think you could do, if you have access to that, you could do a lot. We stopped on the way back from Ocean Isle and took a look at the Riverwalk in Charlotte. And, man, that's really nice. If you hadn't been there, take a look at that. And I think if you had access and you could run, you know, something like that, just a short way out in the wetlands and back and set up, you know, whatever bird or alligator watching or whatever was appropriate. I think it'd be a really nice thing to do. There's one other thing that's bothered me about this, and that's, isn't the structure or the things that we want to do with this, aren't those things, the features of this, aren't those dependent on what the board's plan for the pier is? Because I would assume that buying the pier and the meetings and discussions they've had on that, they'd have a lot of ideas of what they saw that looking like in the future. So if it was going to be full of, you know, classrooms and nature walks and stuff like that, then we certainly wouldn't want to be redundant in what we brought to them on this.
Yeah, because our plan has nature walks
Restaurant,
and other, you know, further, coming this way, I
Yeah.
think, out in this, in the intercoastal waterway. I mean, that was something they proposed, but not in any of the locations we're talking about.
right.
And to answer your question, I don't think that there has been anything put out yet that can answer that question, and so I think you guys have to move forward with it separately.
Yeah,
And just say the memo is, here's what we think by February, and if that changes things, it's separate, but at least you have delivered your deliverable. And so if you think that it should include those elements, then that's what you put.
yeah, that makes sense.
And Tim had a training today, so he couldn't be here today, but he is planning to be here for January, so.
I have a question. Have we talked about visiting as a board, taking a field trip to this location?
We can, it's currently rented.
Okay.
So
So after it being rented, we are able to go, but does that have to be before the January meeting? Can we do a special trip like this morning?
to this house, we
Uh-huh.
can't, it's currently rented, so
Uh-huh.
as a board, we can't go in there, cause it's like somebody's house.
But after they leave.
We haven't told them they have to leave.
Ah,
That's not.
oh.
It's a long-term, it's not like a week.
Cause see what
Got it,
the,
got it. Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and I
Oh,
knew
so
we
that-
were missing something, we
Okay,
were
yeah.
gonna get there between the
Okay.
two of us.
Mhm.
The tasker is that, as I understood it from the commissioner that put it forward, and then it was voted collectively as he has to send it, is that if we get this to them by February, then they can include anything as a possible tie-in to the budget for next year, cause that's when budget meetings would start. So it would be them looking to implement in July with things.
I think the biggest thing we need is Tim's input.
Yeah,
And like Tracy
yeah.
said, we need to know what walls we can knock out and what we can do with it, if that's possible.
Yeah, kind of need a footprint,
Yeah.
you know, the layout of it, you know. I mean, I was really impressed with that facility today over at Ocean Isle.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was
I was
too.
very impressed with it.
Yeah, I'd be thrilled if we could have.
If we could
something
have
like
Yeah,
that.
well, I
like
mean, you know,
that.
even, you know, because I was sitting there looking at it and, you know, I know construction costs are high, but that type of building wouldn't break the bank.
No.
Because, you know, you're not building a 4 or 5 bedroom house
Right.
with 4 baths and a full kitchen, you know, you just got a galley kitchen and some storage and a deck and
Mhm.
you know, a couple of offices,
Which if this would withstand it, we could do that.
yeah. Yeah.
If,
And I
if it's
thought-
structurally sound enough to do it.
Yeah, but,
That's it.
but
But
still,
we don't,
but
that's
you're
what we
still
don't
gonna
know, we
run
don't
into,
know that.
you're still gonna run into the parking issue.
Yeah. Well, they're gonna do
Yeah.
that regardless,
Yeah, yeah,
no matter what we do.
yeah.
Well, you're gonna run into the competition issue for parking spaces too. They decide that space
Well,
will
yeah.
generate more income than
I mean, I thought about that, if you did that there, and then, let's say somebody rents it for a birthday party, okay? And then they go down there and all those parking spaces there at the access are taken, yeah, you're really,
Well, they'd have to rent the parking places too, I guess.
yeah, I guess.
Maybe at a discount because they're gonna, I don't know.
Or maybe you throw the surveyor's tape on them like they do
Right.
down here
Yeah,
before
well,
concerts.
that's true, that's true.
But
What, I don't know if this enters into this discussion, but the property that we do, that the town does not own is minimal back there. Is there a possibility that that can be purchased and we utilize it in this project that we're assigned to do? Whether it's a tennis court, tearing it down and putting some other facility up there, or increasing it and having an extension out the back?
And I'll have to check on those possibilities for you for the next board meeting.
Is there, and I know nothing about this, so y'all fill me in, but like if you wanted to move the house, okay? I mean, you know, will people take a house if you let them move it? I mean, move it for you, oh, they will?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah,
I guess so that brings me to think, okay, you know, one thing you need to know is, are the pilings in there still good? You know, if you move the house and then build something like down at Ocean Isle.
I saw the, I mean, when we were there, they had like the beach patrol kind of going out of there. Are there any other, town services or that you could put here? I mean, the beach patrol would be actually, you know, where you can put the gators down there or,
I'm just gonna go off the top of my head now.
Okay.
With you asking me that question with a recreation background and a community center thing. You could have, like, you could change it around, you could have a weight and fitness center. You could look at the classroom aspect. The beach rangers, the underneath, there is enough space underneath in the closed-in part that Mike was talking about to park the gators. Right now, they're housed here in those containers in the park. There's space underneath there, I think that they could probably fit underneath there to have gators towards that end of the beach.
That's also a big turtle area. To do some kind of, with the turtle, you know, they need stuff for the turtles.
When I first walked through it, a long time ago, you know, I even wondered about if it was gonna be a renting option, if it stayed a renting option, but it was like a more of a renting for like, because you've got the marsh view and the ocean view, like artists or writers or for like retreats or that kind of thing. So that may be your fourth option, that you want to look at having it as leaving it as a rental, but have a different aspect on renting. Because then we also have, I mean, I don't know any beaches that do that, to answer your question, but it is a unique property with all those views. And
I'm not far down.
Well, it's
Are
no
we-
doubt that we need a place for our fitness classes.
oh yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
mean-
I mean, they're nice outside, but, you know, several days, I know I've gotten emails, it's too cold.
and
it's
like right
raining.
now, we have the user conflict because the
Right.
trees up at the pavilion, so they've had to move to the park, so
Sure.
that would be an indoor space.
That would be nice.
Yeah, it would be very nice.
And if you had a space like we looked at this morning,
Yeah.
where you can roll up the windows, the walls.
Or have an indoor facility.
Well,
Yeah.
indoor facility would be
Yeah.
ideal.
But
I
we
don't
have
know.
to heat that.
And
It's heating
cool it.
now, though.
And cool it, good point. Where if it was outside with those curtains,
Right.
I mean, we're perfectly happy where we are. I mean, we're moving. And, if you could just keep the wind off.
But I will say, Olivia, to build on what you asked me before, and I know that you couldn't join us this morning, I did tell the board that, that is not to say that if you guys, like I showed you that picture of Jacksonville, this board has, not this board, but the previous Parks and Rec board has taken field trips before. Like before we opened our dock facility, we went up, to like the Newbern area, and so it was a trip that actually was a 2-day trip to visit different docks and see how they did things. So if the board finds places that you see something where somebody transformed something that you think it would be good for us to take a field trip, we can plan that. And it can, actually doesn't have to be on your meeting day, we just have to advertise it in advance.
But we need to go and, before we go, to give them our recommendation in February.
Right.
So we still have a very short window
We
of.
sure do.
And
Okay.
this is the rest of the pictures of the Oak Island facility. Their ramp starts and actually wraps all the way around their building, because I guess that's how they had to do it to get their, slope that you have to for handicap accessibility. But that's from the parking lot. This is the front of the building that faces the, waterway, and then the back of the building faces their street.
To be honest with you, I'm not sure that you could get that slope
All
going
the-
all the way around
yeah,
that house.
I know.
Yeah, I don't think you can. I think we just have to start at the highway if we do that and go
Pretty-
toward
you
the
have to.
back, yeah.
You have to.
You know, very little room.
There is
Right.
very little room, unless
The-
perhaps we get more property.
The 304, the money that was paid for the property, you said came from the sewer fund?
Yes, because since it was for the sewer lift station for
Okay.
sound
All right,
attenuation,
is B Part doing, I mean, have they paid any of that in their budget? Do they pay any of that back to the sewer fund, or is it just sitting there?
it was paid for out of the sewer fund, and we haven't paid anything. But if we decide that if the board takes you up on your recommendations and it becomes a rec facility.
Okay, all right,
then
at that point,
at
it's
that
got,
point,
okay,
the
okay,
rec,
okay,
the B part fund
okay,
would have to pay the sewer fund back.
okay, all right. Now, is there a limit? I know, I know there's a limit on how much can be spent on that building according to the tax value.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Do you know?
I don't
roughly?
have that, Tim would know that. Tim
Okay.
would know that when
Okay.
he comes to the January meeting.
Okay.
Well, they need to talk to him.
For some reason, I'm thinking I figured about 90 grand or something like that.
Yeah,
Percentage.
It's a percentage, I just don't know.
Yeah, I
don't
think it's,
remember
what,
what
it's
it is.
60% or
I
something,
think you're
I think.
something that ballpark.
something like that.
So we need, we still need a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we haven't.
Are we all in agreement that that location, that spot on the island is a good place to try to do something, try to have some recreational facility? I mean, forgetting about the building or not the building, just location-wise, it sounds like everybody's thinking about it, thinking of things we can do there. Does that mean we all agree that it's a good spot to?
I think it's important that we move on down. There's a lot of west from here.
I agree.
But we have other places west, don't we? I mean, there's other land west, correct? Did
There-
you-
There's other land like Scotch Bonnet West.
Right,
But
But that's still a lot further down than Scott Farm. It's still good to be
Mhm.
more west than
It's
that.
about 3 miles probably from the pier.
Yeah,
okay, so that may make it better, but I'm just,
yeah. And I like it that it's right there by the public parking.
And you got,
That solves a
yeah,
lot of parking issues.
and you got camera access
Right.
somewhere.
Over
In
here,
that
if
area,
the-
right?
If the building is right here and then right over here. is the
Okay,
camera.
that's what I thought.
Yeah,
So
And
it's,
then the
So
parking
you got,
is
that's,
over
that's
here.
two big pluses right there.
right.
Yeah.
call the camera access the 800 block. I think it may be the actual address like between 796 and, it's like 796, 798.
Mhm,
Yeah.
it's very
Yeah.
close, that's what I'm saying, that's two big pluses.
So you can do stuff, walk across, it's gonna be on a bike.
Mhm.
We,
It's bike
certainly all the
accessible,
stuff
yeah.
we've talked about, you know, the possibilities we've talked about have included restroom facilities and kitchen and showers and so forth, so that I think we can incorporate any of those into,
Oh, yeah.
you know, a redesign or a new build.
I think,
The-
I
the other
think Tim's
question-
gonna have to be a big issue in this, to
Well,
answer a
we-
lot of their questions. I mean, it's kinda hard for us to make
Yeah,
a solid recommendation without him answering a lot of their questions.
yeah, and I'd asked Christie this morning, I know he did a walkthrough inspection kind of thing, did he write a report like he did for the pier? That would help us a lot if something like that's available.
I think that answer is no. To my knowledge, that didn't occur, but I'll double check on that.
Okay, so we're just gonna have to pick his brain. Um, So what's our next steps and what are we gonna do? How are we going to, do we just make the assumption that one of two things happens then? We either redo that building if it's structurally sound, or we tear it down and do new construction,
I think so.
haul it out or whatever, and do new construction, and what would we have in the building with renovations? What would we have in a new building?
Or what would we put there if we didn't have a building?
If we
Like,
had,
if we didn't replace it with a building, if we
Yeah.
did a tennis court or,
true.
you know, restroom.
No, that's true. We haven't talked about that much, have we? We could knock down the whole building and have a couple of public, smaller restrooms and shower there and have more tennis courts, pickleball courts, whatever.
I don't know how much space there is there. You might
Yeah.
get one tennis
No,
court
you're
in
not
there.
gonna have a whole
Yeah.
lot.
You're not gonna have more than
You
one.
don't have- Yeah.
I don't know if that'd be a more feasible thing to do.
Um, And what else would we put there if we took the building down?
Yeah. And we don't have intercoastal access or marsh access, probably because you said somebody else owned the land.
Right.
So we can look at it, but not be on it.
Not, yeah.
So I think all that, we're in limbo until we can talk to Tim and get those answers on what's, we need to know the lot size, the footprint of the current house, and structurally what you could knock out or not knock out, and if it's worth fooling with.
But I don't think a dog park would, I mean, that's not an
Oh,
ideal.
no.
No, it's not an ideal park, you know, for a dog
Expensive
park.
land
And
for a dog
I don't think, you know, for other things that we're looking at, like canoe launches, I mean, again, that's not
No.
Mhm.
the
Too
ideal
far out.
space for some of the other things.
It would be a glorified bathroom
Yeah.
area
Yeah.
if we knocked it down and didn't have any indoor space
Right.
or
Right.
decking space
Right,
for
right.
other
I think
things,
we need a
so.
building.
Pardon?
I think we need a building. Or, you know, something.
Yeah,
Like you said, exercise,
yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with that.
Or you end up with
a place
something
for a
like,
picnic.
Or just put the pavilion out, like,
or you,
Yeah.
yeah, or you end up with
Oh,
something like
yeah.
Halsted.
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
My question about tearing the building down and not putting a building back up is, does that still provide the sound protection for the house next door, that the whole, which is the whole reason for buying this thing?
I don't
If you
have
tear
any
it down, you
idea.
have to
That's
build one
another
of those
damn question.
big walls like
So you've
the-
gotta go through all the permit processes.
Yeah.
If we tear it down.
Well, that also begs the question, is that loud? I mean, do you wanna do classes and rent for birthday parties? I mean, I don't know.
How
what
often is it loud?
I don't know, so I'm asking if it's there for noise, a noise issue.
There must be noise.
Apparently, it's a pump station, it's got to run, but it
Right.
doesn't run 24/7, does it? I mean, I never hear it, very seldom do I hear it when I walk.
I don't think that you hear it very often. I will have to, that's a Chris question, how many times? So I'll have to see if Chris can provide us with that. Tim may know it based on, you know, he had to inspect and be a part of that, but I'll
Right.
have to find out from Chris.
I mean, I think we have to move forward whether we have sound issues or not. We have a pavilion down there, we have concerts with smell.
Right,
Yeah.
I
that's
mean,
true.
we have to go forward
Yeah,
with a plan.
yeah.
And that was the other issue, is there smells associated with this one. You said you hadn't noticed anything walking by.
No, but you know, I don't hang
But
out.
you don't, you're not there.
You know, if you're living in it,
It
yeah.
definitely is down here, though.
Yeah, we'll go,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely down.
Yeah.
I'm just assuming that if the board decided to spend 340-something grand on a house to keep the neighbors from being knocked over by sound, there must be a reason. So you could tear it down, you gotta put something else out.
You would think, I don't know.
Maybe it's just a sound barrier wall or I don't know. And whatever you put in there, you has to
Well,
have a low impact
there's a
on
noise alert.
people next door.
Those are just questions we don't have any answers to. We don't know anything about the property, I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just in
So
what
Can I
little
make-
bit of information I have, it's cheaper to renovate than it is to
Yes.
rebuild.
Much. Well, we need to make
If it's
sure-
sound enough that we can
Do it.
use the structure and renovate it to what we want, I think that it's gonna be cheaper than building from scratch. That's how it used to be, a long time ago.
It's
What
iffy
it
don't
is
know.
now.
current.
It's iffy now. I think
Yeah.
sometimes it's cheaper to tear down and go start over again.
See, yeah, that
But
may
I-
very well be with
Yeah,
the
but
material
see,
costs.
I don't know what we're, you know, whether we're talking about taking part of the house down, making a big deck, you know, putting in a classroom floor, making this kitchen a little smaller. I mean, we don't even know what we'd have in the house that would, that would make sense for Holden Beach, so. I guess we can talk to him.
I think in the initial conversations that Tim and I had, because we did go over together, that, he was leaning towards, talking to you guys about, depending on what you brought forward, about the ramp going to the bottom floor only and doing something with the bottom floor, and then the top floor would be considered for storage or other space just for staff, so that you didn't have to worry about getting handicap accessibility all the way to the
Oh.
second floor.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Well,
Yeah,
there's an
I agree
idea.
with that.
There's an
Yeah.
idea.
Because if you didn't, you'd have to do an elevator.
Yeah, I didn't even think that.
Yeah, I
Accessing the
agree
second
with
floor,
you.
I was just trying to
agree with
get 'em
that.
on the
I
main
agree with
floor.
that.
But I think his thought in that was is that in order to have open space in the bottom, that he would have to figure out if the stairwell could be moved from the center of the downstairs
Yeah.
to the sidewalk.
Yeah, we need to, I think there's a lot of ifs.
We need a
But I
architect on our team.
definitely think that not trying to make a ramp go all the way to the second story to be used is probably what you want to
Right.
think about, but
Yes.
I'm not gonna lead you in what you want to think about.
No,
That was
I don't
just,
think there's room.
No, I don't think you can.
Not on the
I mean,
existing
you take up half the property getting it zigzagged up there.
Yeah, and then there goes your parking.
Well, I've obviously overestimated our progress in my opening comments, since we're not gonna be able to, say, hey, you do this, and you do this, and you do this. Let's try something else. Would you each put together a list of questions for Tim and things that we need to get addressed before we can do the other exercise? And email or text message me or whatever with those, and I'll compile them all and get them back to Christie and Tim and Wolf, so he can be prepared to answer what we want to know. And let's try that for the the December meeting. That means we're really gonna have to roll. Is everybody
January
available?
meeting.
Some during the holidays or?
can I say two things?
Yes.
Hey, John, I think for cleanness and for, public records, I would like them to email me and then you and I get together with just the chair and myself getting together and make the list and send out, or get the Tim, and then the second thing is, you actually, if y'all decide that you need to, you can meet more than once a month. You can call a special meeting. It's just that with the special meeting, you can't add anything to the agenda once we get in here. It has to be specific to what you're meeting about. So just to clarify those two things.
Okay.
And just make sure you're not replying all, it's just one individual person to me, and then we can independently, John, pick a date to look at that.
Okay.
We need to have a date, give us a date you want us to have.
Yeah. Let's say a week from now,
Which
which
is,
is what, 10th? You're done.
oh, yeah, the ninth, right.
Okay.
And, and in terms of ability to work on stuff between now and mid-January, are people reasonably available, mostly not available? What kind of, you're gonna be traveling some, I think you said.
I travel probably on the 1st.
Okay.
Is there a possibility that if we get this list to you and compiled, could we have input at a special meeting from Tim or not?
I can try to see his schedule for coming to a special meeting.
That would be great.
I
That
can't-
would
I
be
can't
great.
speak
That would,
to
we
his-
can do
everything
that.
we're coming up, we need
Wait.
to talk to him about.
Yeah, if you don't wanna try to wait until January, I can
Yeah,
see his
I'm
schedule.
afraid.
I'd rather do that,
Yeah.
yeah.
See when he's available.
So why don't we do this? Why don't the board send me individually, when you put your comments, what you're available through the end of December, excluding the holidays? And I will get a day where there's a quorum, because I know that we likely can't get everybody here with the holidays, but we'll do the best we can with the most people that's available, coinciding with his schedule and my schedule to be here, and we'll have a special meeting. And if anybody does have to miss that day, obviously it'll be online with the recording a couple days later, and you can catch up before the January meeting.
That's a go.
So we'll have a lot of those questions answered then with the special meeting. What else do we need to discuss in relation to this?
Oh,
Anything else about 796? Nope. Okay. Upcoming events, Christie?
Okay, with upcoming events, we have the tree lighting tomorrow evening. It begins at 6 o'clock. We have secured donations for food from the Scoop. Subway is doing cookies, and Domino's is doing a few pizzas for us that we usually cut into bite-sized pieces. The tree will come on promptly at 6. Any board members that have said that you can help tomorrow evening, if you can be there by 5:30. And Santa will be there, as well as the Grinch. And then we have the Sandy Paws. Last month when we met, I didn't have a date set for that yet, because I need to look at the calendar and I needed to coordinate with Santa. But that will be next Saturday, December the 11th. And it will leave from Town Hall, and we'll walk to the pavilion like we normally do, and they will have their pictures made with Santa. I believe that the Beacon is covering that event in their edition that comes out before them next week. And that takes us through the end of December. I don't have any current updates other than for the Cycle NC. We did have the promotional video that will announce us. They asked that a representative from the town do the welcome announcement. I haven't heard when that's going to be released on their website yet, but David did that announcement and we sent ours in. So
we still don't know when that is.
it's going to be next year on October the 8th. It's a Saturday.
Cool.
And I think that's what I had on upcoming events.
I'm sorry, what time on December 11th is Sandy Paul's?
It's at 10.
10, thank you.
And I actually should be good that day, unless there's any board members that just really like dogs, or if you want to bring your dogs out, but I should be good as far as help goes.
Anything else?
That's all on events.
Okay. I had, you had asked me to look into setting up a kite festival to coincide with the cycle NC.
Yes, sir.
I've done that and talked to several people, and I'll be able to get at least the people from the Charlotte club that used to come here all the time, the Wackos. I'll be able to get them, plus
Love them.
myself and Dave, who always fly. And then I talked with Cliggs Kites down in Myrtle Beach, and she told me that they would send up however many flyers and stuff we wanted. And if we wanted to set up, you know, a thing for people making, kids making kites and stuff, they'd be happy to help with that. So what I need to do now, Christie, is find out who do I hit up for places to stay. I know the Merchants Association used to provide that when we regularly had people down, but we'll need 2 or 3 houses to house people if that's gonna happen, so.
I will reach out to my contact with the merchants and tell them that they used to do that in the past, and see if that is an option that they may look to do as part of contributing to the event.
Okay.
And if not, we'll look at what else might be able to occur.
Don't. Was there supposed to be, did they say something about a parade over the bridge on that day, or did I imagine that? I guess if you got people bicycling over, you can't have a parade, can you?
No, I haven't heard about a parade. If
Okay.
it's happening, it's not, we don't know about it.
Yeah, okay. I was probably thinking of something else, so. Okay, so you got back to me in terms of housing. Okay, anything else on events? All right, budget considerations?
Yes, Vice Chair Tucker, wanted me to pass along, you know, you guys, we talked about in the past when you had your task force as far as taking, some of the beach stuff as far as walkways back over, that you can make budget recommendations for consideration with the budget year. And our budget talks will probably begin sometime, like you said, 796 is gonna be to them by February, so they can have that in their consideration. So her concern is that to be proactive with this master plan, that we needed to look at the things that were outlined in the short term, and maybe if people could make a list of some low cost items that you think are most important off that list, and then reach goals of something larger, and then you guys could collectively decide what you think needs to be presented to the board for consideration in the upcoming budget year. Her comments that she sent along the lines of what personally she's thinking that she wanted put into the minutes was examples of low cost goals she would be in favor of is adding shade sails and seating near the multi-purpose court in Bridgeview, add playground equipment and picnic tables in Sailfish, add picnic tables to Sand Dollar, add canoe kayak launch at Halstead, and add summer camps to be facilitated by a part-time counselor. Reach goals was picnic facility at Sailfish, Jordan Boulevard Pavilion, Bridgewater Park, a total renovation to include bathhouse or restrooms, paving, landscaping, sidewalks, tennis court, picnic area expansion, And the Jordan Boulevard Pavilion area, she said, is currently an embarrassment. It does not portray the image we want for our lovely beach.
Who's the,
Susanna.
okay.
So, I was gonna ask you, what do you mean by, like, small items? I mean, her
They
items
put-
are big. I mean, some of the ones you mentioned are $50,000,
Yeah.
$100,000, so.
That's a serious
I-
list.
Yeah, she
So what do you have in mind? when
had
you say-
low cost goals. I guess that she just looked at some of the ones in the back, and I don't know what kind of dollar figure. I think that if you stay, I even hate to put that out because we haven't done this before, but I would say for low cost, I would stay like 25,000 or less.
Yeah,
That's way over that.
Yeah, and then if the last part of her list was her reach goals, but if
Oh,
you
okay.
go for a bigger thing, and so I'm thinking that what her idea is without her being here is that maybe you can consolidate to agree by the time budget time gets here around one big thing that you think the town needs to pursue next year, and a couple of small things to put in the budget to see if it makes the cut. So
Yeah.
that the plan remains active.
One of the, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
One of the low-hanging fruit things that we had in the master plan was improving signage everywhere. And those of you who went to Ocean Isle this morning, I think that we all thought there was a really impressive sign.
Yes.
Very.
Very, we
Very.
were all impressed
And
with that.
some of you guys got pictures. Can
Yeah.
you send Christie, if you get pictures of the signs, can you
She did.
send them out to the group? Because I would really like to suggest we consider getting signs along those lines as some of the low-hanging stuff on the budget. I think they were very effective and full of information.
Along that line, I forget if it's Ocean Isle or Oak Island, I think it was Oak Island, that initiated the scan on their phones on all the signages for the rip currents. How expensive is that?
I don't know the answer to that.
But signs are very expensive,
Does it, the
Just-
signs are,
extremely expensive. They're not low hanging for cost, but
That you just scan, the little scan bar that you scan to find out what the current rip current is?
oh, I don't know
I
how
don't
you
know
put it
about
on
that.
there. I don't know how that is. I don't know how expensive that is.
I would be really interested in, and I mentioned that to
I wonder if
Chrissy
you
a long
could
time ago.
contact, what is it, Brunswick County? I see them, they're always posted about rip currents, always. And I wonder if they can get you a QR code that you could,
QR codes.
yeah,
See, I
to
don't
see
know
if you
this.
could scan it.
Me either, I was trying to
It's,
come up with it.
Brunswick County,
Is
I don't-
emergency
I mean, I could find
services
it, huh?
maybe?
do what?
Is it emergency services?
Something like, I mean, it's, yeah, Brunsco, something.
Well, no one's, as
Yeah.
soon as one of them pops up, right?
But if we
No,
could
But-
have those,
But I would think that they may have a QR code,
Yeah.
because they update it every day in the summertime.
right, right. And if we could have that QR code available in the rentals as well as on our signage. I mean, we don't have to put them in the rentals, but we could ask the rental agents, they may. I mean, it's just a step to say that we're concerned about our
Rip time.
about our patrons, and,
But the town doesn't have any, signage,
I'll check on that.
like design,
it just seems like an easy
specifications or
thing.
anything
but
for
I don't know
signs,
how
do they?
expensive it is.
There's no signage like what they need to look like, new signs going up for Holden Beach. They don't have a look or a,
typically the ones that we put out on the beach accesses all have like a standard thing that we've used before, but as far as there are regulations that have to be followed as
Yeah.
far as like larger signs or things that go up, especially if it's gonna be, you
And
know,
font cut
in the
to
right
the-
of way or,
right, so you all do have, so they can,
We do.
you know.
Especially if it's in a public facility.
Okay, And what sort of deadline do we have, Christie, for having this the budget?
Just before the budget, so I'm thinking that if you guys want to talk about that at each of your next meetings and try to have a list that you bring back to the next meeting that you talk through, that we should probably be fair to Tim and put Tim first on the agenda so he can
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think that's a good
and
idea.
go get his inspections done, and then we move to the other stuff.
Great.
Whose responsibility is it to maintain the current facilities that we have?
But if it's a rec facility, it would come from the rec department and the, B-part budget.
Okay, so I think that needs to be included in our budget,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely, because if we don't take care of what we have, it's.
Not gonna be there.
Is that like contracted out? I mean, like for cleaning the restrooms and stuff like that, or?
So during the summer, we contract out to clean the restrooms for, it has become the larger project during COVID, we had to do it more often.
Right.
But the way we did it this past summer was that I believe the Public Works Department did it in the mornings, and we hired somebody to come and do that one and the park one in the afternoon so that it was getting hit twice.
Okay,
They typically, the contract people try to do it before the concerts on Sunday,
okay,
for sure.
okay.
And that's how that works. As far as our, in the park, we only contract them for the bathroom side, so in-house Public Works does the laundry side and the shower for the boaters. That's only for
Okay.
boater access.
Okay.
So Public Works does all like inspecting the playground, inspecting the pavilion if there's broken rails. That's your Public Works that does that, correct?
Yeah, they'll go out and look at something, especially if it's complaint driven, or if Tim may need to be called in as the building inspector. It just depends on how severe it is. Like if we had a pier issue at Halsted within the time that I've been here, and he had to go down, and then we had to do a redo up there for some stuff, so.
Other comments?
And we actually do have a current issue with a bulkhead at Selfish that I have gotten, asked for a contractor to give a quote on. But it's one that we replaced with funding from Brunswick County, and, it is soil and water conservation, and it is blowing out, so.
Anything else? Nothing else? And we have no public comments because we have no public.
We do.
Oh, yes, we do. Do you have a comment?
public comment?
We have public, Mr. Public sitting over there.
Do you have any public comment?
He was hiding over there. probably. Okay, anything else, guys? If not, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is.